Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. This is your presenter, Mr. Kejau Touray. With special guests as usual, Mr. Goswell, Joey Goswell. It's good to see you guys. We couldn't come yesterday, last weekend, because of the demise of Fakeba Koli. May his soul rest in perfect peace. So we say prayer to him. He was a very good man, and he fought for our nation. He went to prison for the country, for the party. So may his soul rest in perfect peace. Mr. Goswell, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kejau, and good Sunday to you and all those who are listening. And as you said, may the soul of Fakeba Koli continue to rest in peace, and may he have may Jannah grant him eternal rest. Yeah.
Amen. So today our theme is going to be UDP at 25. I understand UDP is going to be 25 years. Is it 23rd? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow will be our 25th anniversary as a political party.
Sorry.
It was 25 years tomorrow when UDP was formally recognized as a bona fide party. And we got to understand that legislation of political parties became more robust and more rigid when during the transition to the PIEC decree. So what happened is you have to register a political party, you have to have signatories, you have to have a manifesto, you have to all these basic institutions, all the basic issues have to be put together. And what will happen is then they register the political party. And in those days, you need to have 5,000 signatories before you can be registered, and it has to be across the board. You just don't go to one area in Banjul and get 5,000 signatories. You have to make sure that it's across the board, that it has a national character.
Yeah, so much like it is now, because I think it is the same situation now.
It's the same situation. Well, it was when this thing started. Yeah.
So so happy anniversary, everyone! Happy anniversary.
Indeed.
Yeah, and how many parties came together? Just a historic background to the people.
Well, historic background is that 3 political parties came together, because you've got to understand that when we had the referendum on the 8th of August, of which they voted by a majority of 2-1 on a Thursday or on a Wednesday. On a Friday, Yahya Jammeh and the APRC did introduce Decree 89. And Decree 89, what it meant was all political parties, PPP, NCP, GPP, were all proscribed. And anybody that was a minister in the PPP regime or the Fourth Republic was also banned from politics. So all the cabinet ministers, Siritiba was banned, Asamsa Kamara was banned. Even if you were absolved of any corrupt practices, you were still banned. So all of them were banned.
So it's a way to make sure that we had fresh people. Nobody had any political.
No, it wasn't that. It was geared towards making sure that there was nothing that could stop Jammeh from winning.
Yeah.
Because the writings were already on the wall that there was some sort of working partnership between GPP and NCP going ahead. Yeah. So you can see that things were moving on to that direction where if there was election in 1997 or 1996, there could have been a coalition. And those 2 heavyweights were just proscribed, even though Siritiba last became a public servant in 1975, whereas Hassan Musa last became a public servant in 1982. So you can see that was a long gap, but it was very, very unfair. But the whole idea was to neutralize that heavy force. So when the two political parties were proscribed, the three political parties were proscribed, they had to come together and look at how they can form this party. And according to my source, historically, my source is that the people like Alaji Jallo Sane, Alaji Keba Tamba Jame of Badibu, they were instrumental in bringing these parties together. And for one thing which I can say with confidence, if you read this book, which I will show you, if you read this book, Asal Musa Kamara, it will tell you that as GPP did take some money from their account, emptied all their deposits and had it over to UDP. Okay. In fact, the color of the party, I am told, was designed or was identified by a UDP MP in the name of member Tambedo.
Yeah.
So these are the people that took part in the formation of the party. There were other people like Ganji Touray, Ibundao, Pesenjai, Femi Peters, Christian Davis, Aji Yam, Aji. So PPP elements all came together, and there was one guy in Serakunda called Bakari Man, and they were all involved. And that led to the Grand Coalition. But the beauty of this coalition is that this was a very rare political party that we've seen before. With the exception of Joy, our political parties were always foot soldiers that graduated into the scene. But this was the first time where we saw technocrats heavily involved in running the affairs of the political party. People like Amadou Tal, who was local government secretary, permanent secretary, Yaya Jallo, who was PAM secretary, Ibrahim Amane. These were all seasoned civil servants that were brave enough this UDP in its formation. Another person that you need to remember is this guy we call Lieutenant Colonel Sam Silla, who stood back out for almost on one occasion and lost.
Yeah.
He was still PPP, but he was also involved in the forming of. So, next step is that we had to enter a political campaign. Elections were held on the 26th of September. But even though the political parties were formed, they had to campaign for only 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And within those 3 weeks, they had to select a leader. And from my source, Usainu Numukunda Dabo was contacted, and he accepted the appointment or the election as leader of the party.
Did you listen to his interview? His program on Paradise.
I've listened to some of it.
Yeah,
I find it very interesting, and it just refreshes my memory, because I can remember following these things when it was happening.
Yeah.
So Usainu Dabo, according to sources, was out of the country, and he was contacted.
Yeah, but he said some people were approached. I think 2 or 3 people were approached before him. Yes, he was one of the people who were shortlisted.
Yes,
and those people refused to take it. Do you know those people?
Yes, those people refused. And it's interesting you say this. A 48-year-old man with a very flourishing legal career, ready to take that sacrifice at that time when you got a young family.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot ask for more.
Yeah, and he was enjoying his life. I mean, he went to the Olympics in Atlanta, so you can see the sacrifice.
Yeah, because then he was the vice president of GANOX.
Yeah.
Yes. So or GNOX, as they call it, Gambia National Olympic Society. He was
okay.
So Usainu Dabo had everything at his disposal, but when it come to country, he answered the call.
Yeah.
And that is where I had so much respect for him.
Absolutely.
Because I came to realize that this is a man that was ready to sacrifice.
Yeah.
In other words, there's this great politician called Felix Akueme of Nigeria. He always said, I was rich before I entered politics.
Yeah.
I entered politics and became poor.
Yeah. I think that's what African politics does to people, you know,
yes.
a number of times.
Yes.
So at this time, and also because he was going against soldiers, you know, who were very, very, you know, who had just killed their comrades in November, and they were very crude people, if you know what I'm trying to say. You know, Yahya Jammeh and his crew were very crude. So it was a big, huge sacrifice. Well, not only resources, but you know, for his own safety and the safety of his family.
Precisely, because when you look at it, at that time the decrees were still on.
Yeah.
Decree 57. Decree 57 is that it gave so much powers on the Minister for Interior to detain somebody for indefinite period.
Yeah.
I mean, decree number 4 was still on, although it was revised, but there are other decrees that could land you into trouble. But in spite of that, Hussein Odabo was still brave to go out with his comrades to form a political party. Mm-hmm. And they have to be commended for that.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to give little credit to other political parties like the NRP and PDOIS, but the UDP was the biggest threat to Jammeh's presidency.
Absolutely.
And it was something that continued for almost 22 years.
Yeah.
Now, in my view, if there was no UDP, maybe what would have been the future for multi-partyism in the Gambia?
The Gambia, yeah.
I think we have to look at it from that angle, because the fact that UDP was still on campaigning and all that stuff, being resilient and being this, it really kept the political atmosphere active.
Yeah, some democracy, yeah.
Yes. Now,
and then, And then they had a lot of votes in 1996, you know.
Yes, considering that
it was a newly formed party.
It was a newly formed party, and there was this advantage of incumbency at the time. Mm-hmm. I must say that UDP did very well.
Yeah.
Because in 3 weeks you had 36%, with all the limitations, with all the state apparatus which
and the time limit
had at the time.
I think that was a good achievement. Yeah. And even Yahya Jammeh was scared. He thought he was going to lose.
Well, actually, if I explain, you got to understand that before he banned party politics, before he lifted the ban on party politics, Jammeh was still out campaigning under the disguise of July 22 movement.
Yeah.
So they were building their own base, whereas UDP did not even start. But when UDP came out and started, it was only short of 1%. If Jammeh had been short of 1.3%, then they would have had a rerun.
Yeah.
Because Jammeh had 51.3%, UDP had 36%, the other parties had the rest. So just 1.3% of the vote, if it had swung to UDP or the opposition, then we would have had a rerun. You got to understand that the military were fully involved. It's what Jammeh Hussein Odabo called at the time militocracy.
Yeah.
Some people are telling me that election was won by UDP.
Yeah.
Because of the circumstances of which the elections were held.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean that was and it gave the people the hope, you know, that you know we could really salvage our country.
Well, precisely, because when you look at it, the elections that were held, we did very well in Banjul, Greater Banjul, We did very well because it was very close in Greater Banjul. We were in the thousands, and that was something unique. We did very well in the Kiangs. We did very well. The only problem was at the time was an area like the Western Division, and for obvious reasons, we all know why. But in the Kiangs and in the Badibus, we did very well. I think in that elections, UDP presidency captured six seats. We went to 6 seats were won by Hussein Odabo, or 7.
Yeah.
And that was repeated again in the parliamentary election. For the first time, an opposition party had more than 6 seats.
Yeah, yeah.
When we won 7 in 1997. So this is what actually happened with the party.
Absolutely.
The history, when we talk about UDP at the time, the early stages, UDP were very hesitant to participate in the 1997 parliamentary elections. And that's what people don't understand. Hussein Odabo and the UDP gave conditions to the IEC that they will not participate in the elections unless and until some of their comrades were released from detention. Yeah,
because that was when they assaulted them at Denton Bridge.
Well, I'm coming. I'll explain to you. One of the conditions we said was the likes of Lamin Wajuara, OJ Jalo, MC Chairman, all that stuff was a condition. If you read the literature on it, there was a condition that we will not participate until these people were released. All political detainees should be released. And it became an issue, a push and pull between the IEC, the PIEC chairman then, Mr. Gabriel Roberts, and the UDP executive. And the person who was very instrumental at the time was Sidia Sanyang, who was the senior administrative secretary. And there was an exchange of letters about making sure that the elections were free and fair. Now, we went for the parliamentary elections, having lost the first elections, of which people still say UDP won that election, went to the parliamentary elections. And there again, UDP did relatively well. 7 seats, yes, but there were certain areas where they nearly captured it. A seat in Janjambure, Daddy Damfa nearly won that seat.
Yeah.
A seat in Banjul North, Ibundao nearly won that seat for UDP, but few votes. A seat in Banjul South, Hussein Yai, nearly won that seat from Dauda Jones. So even a seat in Serekunda East, this is a very interesting history to tell you, that because there were 3 candidates, Fabakary Tambong Jatta won that seat. But when you look at those who voted for Halifa Sallah and those who voted for Bakary Mane, you add their votes. Fabakary was a minority elected member.
Yeah.
So if we had done our homework well at the time,
yeah, it would have been a tactical alliance. Yeah.
Yes.
But I guess Doi wouldn't have agreed. They would have put their foot in.
But I mean, in all fairness, Doi had more votes. Doi had about 100 votes more than UDP. But when you add their votes together, it was about 19,000 against 9,000.
Yeah, so we could have given it to Doi.
Yes. So that could have gone for Doi. That could have been Halifa's first taste of parliamentary seat.
Yeah.
So and we had other seats like in Kombo East, a guy who's now MPP, we call him I forgot his name now. Baseku Kuyabi.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Baseku Kuyabi nearly won that seat as well.
Okay, where was he? Kombo East, was it?
It was Kombo East. He nearly won that
seat. Yeah. Now he's UDP, he's NPP every day.
Yes,
I teased him to come on board because he was in the struggle as well.
Yes, Baseku Kuyabi nearly won that seat. Yes.
Okay.
And there's another person, Sidi Jadama.
Yeah.
Sidi Jadama of Ilyasa nearly won his seat. And unfortunately, again, Sehumbalo nearly won his seat in Jimara for UDP.
Okay.
Yes. So you can see.
Interesting. Okay. Sehumbalo was also a candidate. Very interesting.
Yes, it was a candidate for UDP, and he nearly won that seat. Well, he even went to a petition, but he lost.
Okay.
The downside was Sidia Sanyang never won the seat against Seluba for the Basse seat. And also, Bemba Tameru never won the seat against what you call this guy Nete Balde.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of disappointment. But
where was that again? Where was Bemba Tameru? Was it in Basse?
Tumana.
Okay.
Tumana, yes.
Yeah. So to give the perspective, I think the people have to understand at that time. Before that, PPP was always winning almost everything. Because I think that's important to give the perspective to younger ones. Let them understand that at that time, if you are the government, you win seats, you win everything. PPP used to win almost everything.
Yes. Yeah. You see, it was a transformation because what happened was they've already characterized PPP as a corrupt party and everything people saying this, and there you had a new setup coming in. Some of the MPs that stood for NCP were able to register for UDP and contest. Even Manjanko Samusa contested for UDP for Lower Badibu and lost.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that this was a very, very healthy coalition.
Absolutely.
Of which we were very hopeful that this party will do well.
Yeah, so it's like almost everybody in politics now, except Doi, were in UDP. It's very interesting.
Well,
and everybody were
because they were all part of, because PPP was proscribed for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
From 1996 all to 2001. That's when they lifted the ban.
Yeah.
NCP as well. So all of them were. Jibu Jan used to contest for UDP. He contested for UDP for the first time, and he was UDP's first regional chairman for KMC.
Oh yeah.
Yes, may his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Yusuf Acham was an NCP candidate that went to UDP and stayed in UDP and contested for the Kombo seat and lost to Adam Acham.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. So these are scenarios that happen. I mean, what made it more interesting is the fact that it gave hope to the political dispensation.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we should never forget.
Yeah, we shouldn't take it for granted. We should be grateful to everybody.
Because from that moment, UDP went on, having lost, they had 7 seats in parliament, but they were very, 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 very active parliamentarians, very active. Yeah. Because then UDP had 7, NRP had 2, PDOS had 1, and the independent, I think they had 1 as well. So they were 10. So
NRP was there from day one.
Yes, so NRP won 1 seat in Jara.
Yeah.
And then won 1 seat in Salum, which Lower Salum or Upper Salum, which one is it? Yeah, Hamasba seat. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And it surprises me that those 10 MPs did very well, because when they were asked to be sworn in, they refused to be sworn in.
Yeah.
They said before they take the oath, Yahya Jammeh should take the oath.
Yeah. I remember.
That's why our constitution did not come into effect until the 16th of January 1997. That's why it's called the 97 Constitution, because you got to understand that Yahya Jammeh was already sworn in November.
Yeah.
The Constitution coming into effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what they did was when they came to administer the oath, Ahmad Ba and Sidi Jata and UDP, they said they will not take the oath until the Constitution comes into effect. So they had to administer the oath on President Jammeh, and from that moment, it came into effect.
Yeah. So what happened at Denton Bridge? I understand.
The Denton Bridge scenario was when the rallies were coming to an end. UDP were on their way going back to their bureau, and whilst they were at Denton Bridge, they got ambushed.
Where was the UDP bureau then?
It was in Banjul.
Yeah. Okay.
And I am made to understand that a lot of UDP supporters were mercilessly beaten up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Some had some life-threatening injuries. Some even died.
So it looks like the Yahya Jammeh was afraid that they were coming after him because there was so much crowd there.
Apparently, there's a report which I find very negative that said that due to the hostilities of the campaign at the time,
yeah,
from both parties, it became a circus whereby they got involved in. It was a bit violent, and in the end, AFPRC then had the upper hand. Mm-hmm. But the negative side of it is that APRC were using state resources to fight against UDP supporters. And as a result, so many UDP supporters were badly injured. I mean, if you listen to Amadou Sane's interview, Amadou Sane's testimony at the TRRC, you will hear the narration he's giving about what they encountered at the bridge. Yeah. So these are one of the things that happened there at the time when people were badly beaten up and all that stuff. Yeah. And I am made to understand that even the mayoress of Banjul was also a victim of that incident as well. Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, Rohi, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so she's not a newcomer in UDP like...
No, she's not a newcomer. She's not a 2016 UDP supporter, you see. Okay, I have to be careful saying that because we are grateful for those who joined after 2016 because they
absolutely. We have gained ground. We have gained lots of ground, especially in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Hopefully, we will have one of these people who joined, probably, Bintabari, Texas. Hopefully we'll get her next weekend to interview her. And we can also see if we can get Ramu also to come and talk to us.
Yes, that's good. But that's good. So this was what happened. When we had 7 MPs in Parliament, we had our first press conference, of which we said, I can remember, the MPs had a press conference. The 7 MPs that were elected, I can give you the name, Dembo by Force did very well in Bakau, alienated Seu Sanyang, and you had Omar Keba Mas alienating Minata Njai. You had Sidi Amankanji. You had Bambanding Dafe. You had Buba Sumara. You had Keme Senjame, Abu Karama Gassama, and Almami Touray. These were all the MPs. And these 7 MPs were very, 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 very productive.
I mean, they saved us. They saved the constitution somehow. They made sure that the soldiers didn't get immunity, for instance, from doing whatever they wanted to do.
Precisely. I'll give you an example. It's not about the moral victory, they had it.
Yeah.
Because when they had the Indemnity Act, which was introduced, our politicians, our MPs stood up and voted against it. And they had the moral support of the people of the Gambia.
Yeah.
When we had a problem about the crude oil situation, which was given to the Gambia from other countries, it was our MPs that were making a big fight for it. When we talked about repeal of Decree 89, of which today some political parties are enjoying, it was UDP.
What was 89 about? Can you tell us?
Decree 89 was, it proscribed PPP, NCP, GPP, and then it proscribed anybody that served as a cabinet minister in the Jawara government to take part in politics.
Yeah, it was really draconian, banning all those people.
What happened? The penalty was $1 million or life in jail. Yeah. That was the penalty.
Because it was how come it didn't ban Doi though? Because it looks like
Doi and PDP, which was led by Lamin Bojang, were not proscribed.
So specifically, it named those parties, the other parties, as
yes, the other parties. Yes, yes.
That couldn't have stand any court of law.
Well, I mean, it did. It did.
Really?
Yes, I'm coming. Because what happened is Omar Amadou Jallow, OJ, took the case to the High Court.
We would have, yeah, OJ.
To the High Court, and it was ruled that we cannot change the law because it was a law passed by laws of the APRC.
Okay.
Part of laws of the Gambia. If you know the constitution very well, the transitional schedules, it says all laws of the APRC are laws of the Gambia. Okay. And as a result, that decree was a law, and as a result, you couldn't repeal it.
But they could have contested it in the Supreme Court. But against what constitution? Well,
it went to the Supreme Court. Good question you asked that. It went to the Supreme Court, and again, it was, I think the Court of Appeal was thrown out. But I think when it went because of the sustained campaign which UDP led, I'm saying this, we led it in Parliament, and with the Gambians in the diaspora campaigning for it to be repealed, it had to be repealed. Yeah. Because that was a condition for international organizations like Commonwealth to get involved with Gambia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the unfair thing, may his soul rest in peace, is that in spite of the fact that Decree 89 was in the statute books, there was somebody who was still active in politics, even though he was affected.
Okay.
Yes. May his soul rest in peace. He's died now, but it's Buba Balde. Buba Balde was still active in APRC, even though he was banned by Decree 89. Oh, so you can see the injustice there.
Injustice, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was a PPP minister for youth.
Yes.
So he went to bed with his enemies immediately after the coup.
Well, yes, but I mean, that's another story now.
Yeah. We just have to move on. He did his part for the struggle eventually.
Yes.
But that was something that we have to tell everyone.
Yes, that's part of that's history that we cannot erase. It's something that happened. Whilst the OJs and others were proscribed from taking part in politics, you had Buba Balde, who was actively involved in partisan politics, even though he was proscribed.
Yeah, but the proscription also favored the APRC eventually, because it did. Yeah, it did. It meant people like PPP could go back to their own parties and started competing against UDP. Well, so the coalition broke up after that. So it's like we were all fighting for. They were fighting for democracy. But it wasn't actually in their favor to.
Well, the expectation that people thought was, some writers have said that UDP will not last because it's a coalition, a marriage of convenience.
Yeah.
It's what they said. And even when KMSM Jame was moving that motion for the repeal of Decree 89 in Parliament, there were people that were saying, now, what is this man doing? Is he trying to shoot himself? Because what happens is, once this bill goes through, there will be no such thing as UDP. But he failed to realize that people have already graduated from UDP and felt that, you know what, this is the party that we should take on now and forget about UDP and all that stuff. So
and it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do.
Very right thing to do at the time. Very right thing, and that's what some people did. That's why you had somebody like Kemese Jame, who was one time administrative secretary for NCP. Yeah. He stayed at
UDP. Yeah.
He didn't go back.
Yeah. A lot of them stayed anyway.
A lot of them stayed. Although Amadou Conte.
Yeah.
Amadou Conte, Djibu Jagne,
went back.
Jame, those people went back to NCP.
Yeah.
But the rest like the Dembo by Force.
Even Uncle Keva Jamme didn't go back to PPP.
He didn't go back. No, because this is your baby. You form this PPP. That's your baby.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, and PPP never recovered from that.
Well, I mean, the reason why PPP never recovered from that is the fact that not only was PPP proscribed, PPP was decimated because PPP was the oldest political party then.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, some of their assets were not even given back to them.
Absolutely.
So that really decimated the political party. And secondly, instead of having a proper Congress, they had an interim Congress, which was not properly coordinated from my own understanding. Handpicked interim leader, never went through a Congress, and that led to the fact that the party was not properly structured.
Who was the handpicked leader? Was it OJ?
Well, OJ, yes.
But he never contested as a presidential candidate, didn't he?
No, not even that. The problem is they never went to a Congress to select a leader, because the problem is the first Congress they had was when they selected
OJ.
Papa Njai as their leader.
Yeah, and he left them for NPP.
So all those years, there was no such thing as a Congress.
Okay.
In their defense, they could say they were more thinking about Gambia as a whole and never thought of having a Congress until everything was restructured for the better.
Yeah, that's why they
cannot say that. But UDP also had a year in which they never had a Congress because they wanted to see that this alliance or whatever coalition could come together.
Absolutely.
So, more of the history coming.
Great. Yeah, let me read some of the comments that people are saying. Some people are saying welcome, and a lot of comments. But let me look at it. Ibrahim saying Joy Goswell is a political library for UDP and the Gambia. I second that, definitely. Encyclopedia of Gambian politics. And I think it's really interesting that, it's really very educative for a lot of people who listen here, younger ones like us.
No, come on, I'm only 1 year older than you. Come
on. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Then still, but in the Gambian culture, you probably age mates then. So that's really important. Ibi Sanyang is a UDP never give up. Yeah, we had good memories, Joel. They're saying that, it was very resilient, and that resilience will continue. When we go against the brutal dictator like Jame, who in NPP can stop us? I mean, not Barrow, definitely. So that's Mr. Sanyang. Yeah, okay. So those are the comments now, and we are almost 1 hour into the program. I mean, I've apologized for the delay. But it's really interesting where UDP came up from. Do you think there's a chance that we might have another coalition this year? And do you think with who?
You see, I'm not ruling out anything.
Yeah.
Because we didn't go to the coalition until November.
Yeah, except against APRC, we'll never have a coalition against.
No, but I'm not ruling out. All I'm telling you, we never finalized this coalition until November.
Yeah, absolutely.
The coalition 2060 was not formalized until November. There's always called this trading give and take, which will happen. But it's hopeful that something major will happen.
Yeah.
Whether it will be good for UDP, I do not know. Whether it will be good for Barrow, I'm not sure. But something major will happen.
Yeah, and maybe we probably wouldn't even need a coalition to get rid of Barrow.
Well, I don't want to be complacent and a bit cheeky, but politics is against the incumbency. We have to be extremely careful of raising too much hopes.
Yeah, especially in the Gambia, yeah. But we came from a long way. We came from, we won, Jame.
Yes.
After all, yeah.
I agree. We won against Jame, and I hope we can win against Adama Barrow. And I can't say any reason why we cannot, but I'm not going to be complacent.
Absolutely. We cannot be. We cannot rest on our laurels.
Yes,
we have to keep rowing,
so you've got to fight on up to the last day of campaign.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And the campaign has started. Our people have started. The last show was at Paradise and Paradise TV, and it was featuring Uncle Luciano Dabo, you know, the leader, the man, the sacrifice that he did. I mean, even, you know, it talked about people like, I think the previous one was the sacrifice of the leaders of UDP,
Well, I mean,
people like Fakeba Kule and
people,
Uncle Femi Peters.
This was a struggle which we should not take very lightly. That's why when I see people on social media not taking this thing serious as it should, it hurts me, because some people struggled, some people lost their livelihoods, some people lost jobs, some people lost family members, and some people lost even some sort of authority within their own family structure because they were opposition, just because of the love of the party and love of the country. And we have some young lads that think this is a joke. Please, it's not. When we do that, we disrespect them. We disrespect some of them that have already died, leaving this world nothing for their families, but respect for UDP. Some people suffered a lot. So that's why that's why people say I'm too committed and all that stuff. It's not that I haven't got other things to do. It's just a mark of respect to people that gave it all to the struggle. I mean, there's some certain stories that I can't say here because it's not healthy for the family to read them, but some people suffered because of UDP. So these are the situations why these people worked hard for the party and built a party so strong. Now, Kejau, if you go through history, with the exception of no main opposition party, listen, no main opposition party. Are you there, Kejau?
Yeah.
No main opposition party has survived 25 years in the Gambia. No main opposition party. I'm not telling you, yes. No main opposition party has survived 25 years.
Absolutely.
When you look at the history itself, UP, which is the United Party, only survived for 17 years. After that, it was confined. NCP only survived for 17 years, main political opposition parties. UDP, 25 years, is still the front runner.
Absolutely.
That is something which people should not underlook.
Yeah, it wasn't an option of it going away. I mean, can you imagine UDP going away against Yahya Jammeh?
Well, I mean,
that would be the day he will.
It was a new dimension, because what I said to you, the UDP had technocrats at the back doing all the work, doing all the writings, doing all of this. They had people there that were ready to keep the party going, and that really helped Hussein Odabo at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go and look at UDP's manifestos for previous years, you see the content, the language, the talent in that party then and now is quite incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I'm no disrespect to PDOIs or First Republican parties, but the human resources, human capital in UDP was exceptional.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And now since 2016, it has been increasing. I mean, now we have a lot more. Yeah.
Precisely. I mean, that's the issue I'm saying. You know, with
quality and in quantity. That's what Uncle Hussein Dabo said.
Yes, that's it. The party is still what makes me in it. You know, I like it because of the quality. You know, we have the brains, we have the people that can push policies forward. And we've already demonstrated it. Just see what happened at KMC, despite all the negativity being associated. A young boy, Talib Bensouda, see what he's done at KMC.
Absolutely.
I mean, that just shows you if we can achieve that in local government under the constraints of the ministry, making it difficult for us to prosper.
Yeah.
Think about what we will do if we were in government. Look at Lamin Sane at Mansa Konko.
Yeah, and Rohilo in Banjo.
And Danjo at in Basse.
Yeah.
They're all working hard.
Absolutely.
So just think about that. If we can do that in local government, then we can do more in central government.
Yeah. With all the constraints.
And when you look at our three ministers that were in the borough borough government or a coalition government.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to come out and tell me that Dabo did something very wrong or did something badly.
No.
Was corrupt. None of them were corrupt.
Absolutely.
Instead,
and they were very instrumental. They put together very solid policies.
Well, yes.
You know,
yes.
especially
I
the
mean,
finance minister, you know, Uncle
yes.
Dabo and
well, precisely. These are things that we're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Because if at all the policies that Amadou Sane, for instance, put forward, if they were accepted, then the corruption would have minimized a lot. You know, he put together, you know, the wastage of resources would have minimized a lot. You know, he was bringing in a lot of discipline, but he's always been undermined by this government. But let's talk about.
It's okay. We're in the history now. We talk about the history part. So
yeah, so if we talk about you mentioned Bensouda, Talib Bensouda, and his quest to get rid of corruption in KMC. Do you think the minister has any legal backing? I mean, legal.
I think Kejau. We're going through the historical narrative.
Yeah.
I'll go into Talib later.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to tell you something that happened. So we won 7 seats. Yeah.
Okay.
The constitution says within 18 months we should have local government elections.
Yeah.
Within 18 months. It said within 18 months, Parliament should pass a law for local government elections to be held. 1997, we did not have local government elections until 2003.
My God.
And the reason why, the Yahya Jammeh was very scared of the might of UDP.
Yeah.
UDP wanted local government elections within the shortest possible time, but they were foot dragging.
Yeah.
It reached a stage where Touray Johnson, who was PIEC chairman or IEC chairman, threatened to take them to court for stalling the process. And in the end, they sacked him. So I'm telling you how UDP was so strong at the time that Jammeh was so scared to go and have local government elections. So if we'd had local government elections within 18 months or 24 months, UDP would have formed the first local government. We would have had more local councillors in the first bit of the democratic process. So this is what happened. Then, Kejau.
Yeah.
Then we campaigned for 5 years. Decree 89 was lifted. We thought we were going to come together. And sadly, on the 11th hour, Sirif Diba decided to break away from the coalition. And this is where the election of 2001, Sirif Diba contested, and it did dent UDP's chance of winning the elections.
Yeah. So who did Sirif Diba contest against? Was it not?
No, he contested. What I wanted to explain was this coalition was supposed to. That was for first break of the coalition, because what happened is once the ban was lifted, Sirif Diba wanted to stand as a presidential candidate for the. And it didn't work.
Yeah, he thought he was the eldest there, and
what happened is it caused a lot of friction. And then what happened is this man also, Doy did not participate in the talks that we had at YMCA building.
Was it that 2001 or 2006?
It was 2001. I'm coming.
Okay.
Look, yeah. So then in 2001, Jammeh's vote increased by only 3%.
Yeah.
Hussein Dabo's vote went down by only 2%. So there was a swing of 2% from UDP to Jammeh. But
Yeah.
there again, it was a question of the incumbency, the heavy-handedness of the military, the excessive force that was used at the elections. And there was some evidence of vote rigging and all that stuff. We were so distraught that UDP did not contest for the 2002 parliamentary elections.
Yeah, they boycotted it.
They boycotted it. And only Doi took part and NRP. And in January 2nd, Halifa Sallah was elected as MP for Serekunda. Because he won that seat. Because he won that seat against Buba Senghor.
Okay, because there was no UDP candidate against him.
You know the story, yes. and Halifa Sallah.
But Doi will never mention that story.
I mean, I'm not gonna touch that. That would make me look so cheap. I'm not gonna talk that. We have to show class. You
would never mention that.
So what happened is we won.
No, I mean they've been mentioning how UDP's thing have been eroding, but they never mentioned that it was because of the boycott that Halifa first got into parliament. I mean,
well, when we contested, I always said it. When we contested against Halifa, he doesn't win.
No, exactly.
Yes. When he contested against Seni Jaite, UDP had a candidate and he didn't win.
Yeah.
Yes. So when UDP don't contest, he wins.
He wins, yeah.
Yes. So I mean that's for the records. I'm not going to be. I have so much respect for Halifa.
Absolutely.
These are facts.
Same here. We have facts are facts. Yeah, we can't bend them for anyone.
Yes. These are facts. You can't dispute it.
Yes. But the fact also is that if UDP stands against Halifa, there's a tendency that UDP also loses.
Well, that's it. That's it. You see, yes. So I mean, when he stood against Fabakary Tombong, he lost.
Yeah.
When he stood because UDP candidate was there. When he stood against Seni Jaite, he lost.
Yeah. So it's better off coming to UDP.
I don't know about that. I don't. You see, he's an honorable man in my book, so I don't like.
Yeah, he would never do that. But at least it's a matter of having tactical alliance.
He's an honorable person in my books. I have so much respect for him, in as much that we do not share the same political beliefs and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, 2006 was very interesting.
Yes. 2006, this was so, I'm coming, you rushing, but I'm coming. So we lost 2001, 2002, we didn't participate.
Yeah.
Then we had an opportunity to regroup. As Oceano Dabo said, he always regrets boycotting because by boycotting the 2002.
Thank you. Almost all boycotts were regretted. Anyway.
Yes. So that election he regretted it because what happened is he just gave APRC to entrench.
To consolidate their wins. And maybe that really did bad for the country, even though Halifa got into parliament, it was not good for
because there was only 3 MPs then.
Yeah, exactly.
There was only 3 MPs.
Yeah, so Jammeh had a free ride. He could do whatever he wanted. Yeah.
Halifa was the minority leader.
Yeah.
And Baba Job was the majority leader.
Exactly, yeah.
And then what actually happened was, in 2004, Baba Job was convicted of economic crimes, may so rest in peace.
Yeah.
And that was a forced opportunity for the opposition to regroup. And when they regrouped, they agreed that UDP will put a candidate in Jara West. And Kembe Seng Jammeh contested that seat and won.
Yeah.
Once that seat was won, that heralded the beginning of looking at how to come together. Then there was another councillor seat, which UDP won. That was the seat in Old Bakau, of which Usman Rambo Jata won against Basiru Gassama.
Yeah.
And when he won that seat, then the 2 seats UDP won. So in such succession, opposition said, let's come together and talk about an alliance. And it was supposed to be a loose alliance. But unfortunately, due to some of the technicalities, someone went and registered it. And as a result, when it was registered, it was deemed as a political party.
Yeah, yeah.
And the law said that you cannot be a member of two political parties. So all those who are left, like Ahmad Ba, Kemeseng Jame, Sidia Jata,
Halifa Sallah, yeah.
Halifa Sallah, all of them were not deemed by law as PDOS candidates, but as NAD candidates, NAD MPs. And it was this, it had to go to court.
Yeah.
And the court said that they have to vacate their seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they vacated their seats, they had to have by-elections.
Yeah.
And when they had the by-elections, sadly, Hamad Ba was the only person that didn't retain his seat. He lost his seat to Senin Bai.
Yeah.
And this is where problems started. NAD came into being.
Yeah.
We were expecting NAD to do well, but unfortunately, there was some disagreements.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And one Friday, UDP decided to
leave NAD. Yeah, I remember that. That was hot on Gambia L and Gambia Post then.
Yes, I remember it left NAD. And NRP followed suit.
Yeah.
And some factions within PPP followed suit as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then that was when NCP was in NAD. Or was it they left also to
NCP
when
was
APRC?
NCP was APRC.
Yeah.
But NCP was just a figure, where we're just a token, not a beacon, because what happened is the NCP's alliance with APRC was for only 2 seats.
Okay, okay.
The alliance was for the seat in Fonyi, which was won by Ibrahima Janko-Njame, and the seat that was won in Bakau by Khalifa Jame or Khalifa Bojang. I don't know what his name. So those 2 seats, that was their alliance. Even Badibu, there was no alliance there. You understand?
Absolutely.
So that's what happened. And when we went for the elections, people were so despondent with the fact that there was no coalition, and people did not go out to vote.
Yeah.
People just stayed away, precisely. And as a result, UDP had 23% of the votes, which was a big shift from 34, 33%, 10% shift. Yes, decrease of percent of the vote. He still had the numbers, the 100,000 was still there, or 100,000 plus, but the percentage went down drastically. So NAD tried under the pretext, NAD tried, and Halifa Sallah was their candidate. That was the first time Halifa Sallah became a presidential candidate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And that's the statistics Halifa Sallah has always been using against UDP. That was when the UDP number started dropping.
Well, I mean, it's the percentage, but not the numbers.
Yeah, yeah, percentage.
Because we're still having 100%, over 100,000 in our votes. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's probably why when Yajame started bringing in all those phantom voters from Casamas and saying the jinns will vote for me.
Yes, I mean, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then
we had the
parliamentary. Yeah. We had the parliamentary election in 2007.
Yeah.
And UDP won 4 seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
We won.
Come back.
We had from, considering that we were not in parliament for over 10 years, we came back. We had 4 seats, and we won Kia West, Alaji Mumudu Sane, Pajalo, Bambanding Dafe, and Lamin Sisi of Sami.
Yeah,
we had 4 seats. So those 4 MPs, Sane was the minority leader up to 2011. Then came 2011. UDP boycotted the elections because on the pretext of electoral reform. UDP and Touray and PPP boycotted elections. But once again, Hamad Bah contested 2011 elections. And only one MP won from the opposition. Although there were 4 other MPs that won from the independent, people like Magasi and Momodu Top in what you call, I don't know whether it's in Nyamina or whatever, won the seat.
Yeah,
there was only one MP, one MP who is Samba Jallow. Samba Jallow won 2011.
Yeah.
And this is where Samba Jallow was on his own, on the party side. He was a minority leader because law says that you have to belong to a political party in order you can be elected as a minority leader. And then up to the time when NLP had a good fortune of winning a seat in Salem, I think it's Lower Salem, and it made it through, but it was too late. So this is what happened.
Absolutely.
GOFA, which is Gambia's opposition for electoral reform, was what consisted of the opposition parties, and these are the people that came together to form what we call Coalition 2016.
Partly, yeah, except without Yame and GDC,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So this is where the history is. Now, with the party itself, we have achieved a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, press conferences were held constantly. UDP were touring the country more than ever before. I mean, then this would do a yearly tour. UDP will have rallies in Banjul, Greater Banjul area, visible rallies. And at times, because of the intensity of the campaign, Jammeh would order the police to deny them permits. And as a result, Ousainou Darboe will use the easy route of going to court and seek for judicial review. And in most cases, it has been a success story. On top of that, some of our supporters have suffered. Some of them were arrested, tortured. The likes of Shingo Nyasi was arrested, tortured. Yusuf Acham, Wasajane, Dembo Bojang, Dembo Arab Bojang, all of them were arrested on several occasions, beating up Duru Kasajata. Kasa was also a regular guest to the NIA. These were people that were beaten up. Yeah. So what we hear in the TRRC is just tip of the iceberg. Because if some people were to, if all UDP supporters were to come out, those who have been tortured, assaulted, and all that stuff, maybe it would have taken the TRRC much longer.
Absolutely.
The deliberations.
Yeah.
So this is the party. This is the story. This is where we need 25 years. There's more to come.
Yeah.
We've got an hour. We might even say we might do the next segment next week or whenever you're ready. But
yeah, absolutely. Let's do that next week. I think it's
this is the story of the party. I mean,
yeah,
it's a party that if you follow it with keen interest, you have to say to them, Gache Galama. These people worked extremely hard.
Absolutely.
And for an incumbent that benefited from UDP,
yeah,
and
very unfortunate.
Thinks that he can now decimate UDP.
Yeah,
it's insulting.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a party of the masses. No one can claim this. I am the owner of this party.
Yeah,
no one can claim it because each and every person that was in the party did his own bit.
Yeah.
And each and every one of us should be grateful. So 25 years, we have to thank those that had the idea of setting up this political party.
Absolutely.
And they're no longer here to enjoy the fruits of it.
Yeah.
And 25 years standing, we are still a formidable force in Gambia's politics.
Getting stronger by the day. Absolutely. Yeah, we should be very grateful to them forever.
Yes.
They changed the landscape of politics in the Gambia and democracy.
Well, we did.
Forever.
We did. It will never be, to quote a phrase, never again.
Yeah, it will never be the same again.
Never again. It never be again.
I mean, from 1996, you know, the APRC could have just been the PPP without UDP.
Yeah.
You know, it could have just been sweeping all elections and doing, you know, getting whatever it wants, just like UDP was. But UDP came and changed all that.
Yeah.
You know, they gave.
Well, they did very well. I mean, the problem is Jammeh was very scared of UDP.
Yeah.
Make no joke about it.
Absolutely.
Jammeh was very scared of UDP.
That's why he was always rigging elections, you know, by registering people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was. There were times when I'm told that you dare not go to work and wear yellow. Yeah. Because they think that you're more of UDP. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't have a yellow necktie in Gambia then. Absolutely. People were changing their names. Social media was almost non-existent in Gambia. There was no freedom. You know, it was I mean, I think you know, anyway. Yeah, so we are 1.5 hours. I think we can continue next week. You know, we can have a small interview, but then we can continue on the history of UDP from 2006.
This is a taste. I mean, we will go into the party proper, how people were able to win the hearts of people, where we had the defections, where we had the cross carpet, where UDP did things that we were the first party to even expel our MP.
Yeah.
Even though we were 7, we're still brave and firm saying that principle is principle, and we expelled one of our MPs.
Absolutely.
Almami Touray of Nyani was expelled.
Yeah.
Yes, in 2000.
Absolutely.
So the principles were there, and we were never afraid to enforce it.
Absolutely.
That's why when we dealt with the so-called 8 delinquents, as they call them, and I said, no, we've done this before.
Yeah.
We've done this before. Yes, I said Lamin Wajuara was expelled from UDP.
Yeah, that's right.
And even though Hussein Oda was in for him to be suspended, but the people said they were going to expel him.
Yeah.
So this is the history for today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So next week we'll continue the part 2.
Absolutely, from 2006 to date. Yes. Hopefully we can complete it by then. A lot of interesting things, a lot of history here, a lot of new things that most of us don't know, especially the newcomers into the party, you know, and the newcomers into politics. So we are grateful to Mr. Goswell today, and we tell our viewers that you know, that they can come back next week to get the rest of the history. And we thank Mr. Goswell. Thank you very much, Mr. Goswell.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kejau. Once again, it was an honor to be asked to give some narrative of the party. It's not. I'm not the encyclopedia. I just have a limited knowledge that I like to share with everybody. And yes, people
just have a huge bottom box.
Yes, well, that's what they say. The bottom box, the bottom box is going to be emptied soon. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get it out. Let's get it out so we can write a book about it.
Yes. So
okay,
anyway, thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, viewers. We'll see you next weekend. Stay tuned. Next weekend. Make sure don't be late. Okay.
No, that's up to you. What next week we'll have more interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.